Hello, everyone. It's Karai here, and I'm here to talk to you about Montana, specifically the Hell Creek Formation. I would love to share all of my knowledge about the amazing digs, or not dig site, but amazing geological formation there, as it has a boatload of interesting topics that I have found myself very much falling in love with over the past several years that I have been into, well, this stuff. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So here we have the Hell Creek Formation map, geological map. You can find it in South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming, as there are different sections. Currently, as you can see here, this is the Low Creek formations and the Upper Middle Creek formations for Montana. Here you can find any sorts of critters and prehistoric plant life that is around. And so we go to the second part. Some of you may be wondering, what is Hell's Creek? As I know a lot of people aren't really paleontologists in our little hodgepodge group of people. And the Hell Creek Formation is a 170-meter thick formation that consists of sandstone shales with interbedded uh, limonites, legitimites. Though resting within these beds are ancient prehistoric behemoths, dinosaurs. Ooh, spooky, scary stuff. Specifically Upper Cretaceous dinosaurs such as Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Dakota raptor, and Ankylosaurus. Very popular dinosaurs that are well known to the public, specifically the big three that I had mentioned. Dakota raptor, we'll talk about him as soon as we can. As you might also be wondering, what exactly the Cretaceous period is itself. That is a section of the Mesozoic era. The Cretaceous period is the section of the Mesozoic era, and it took place between 143.1 million years ago to uh, 66 million years ago, ending with a massive catastrophe that everybody knows about. In total, it is about 77 million years in terms of time between one another, as the dinosaurs seemingly had that much time to, or the last uh, remnants of the dinosaurs had that much time left before their great ending. Uh, in this time period, they ruled the earth, tested, and they basically, yeah, walked around free without having to worry about anything to eat them, except for when it came to the skies and in the seas below, as the great blues, I like to call them, are unfortunately out of the dinosaurs' reach, protected by the pterosaurs, the flying reptiles with wings. You know them. Prime popular example, I should say, is Pteranodon, or as everyone likes to call it, pterodactyl. Uh, but you can also refer to another one being Quetzalcoatlus, the large flying bird that, or the large flying pterosaur that was as big as a giraffe and was capable of could contest with T-Rex if there was a second one. But besides the point, onto the marine reptiles. Those guys roamed the earth, the seas, uh, and made sure that no real big dinosaurs could be capable of getting into the water safely. These large marine reptiles were mosasaurs. You could usually find mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. There were other ones, but those are the two big ones that everyone knows about. Plesiosaurs are the long-necked ones with the flippers on the side of them that you would see associated with, I guess, whales, sort of, kind of. And then the mosasaurs were the, uh, I guess you could call them the T-Rexes of the ocean, if that helps you visualize them. They had long snouts, uh, flippers, and a big tail that allowed them to propel themselves. They are Another idea is to imagine them as the sharks of the uh, Mesozoic era, though getting into semantics is right there. But yes, they are closely. The mosasaurs are closely related to monitor lizards, as evidence to showcase that the monitor lizards or ancestors of monitor lizards decided to take to the seas as it would be much more effective for them since the land was contested by dinosaurs. And well, I don't know about you, but a little reptile is not going to be able to stand up to a T-Rex. But all that good, we have our woodland our little small mammalian ancestors who would traverse the woodlands, the woodland jungles, swamps, wherever they could, without needing to have to worry about dinosaurs catching them. They were, of course, little rats, unfortunately to say, um, just trying to find themselves out in the world, and not have to get caught by a raptor or a, excuse me, or a baby Rex or whatever other. Oh, and the crocodilians. Almost forgot about those guys. They also controlled the waterways too. However, they didn't do it in the deep waters. Those were belonging to, of course, the marine reptiles. But in the rivers, crocodiles thrived happily and with success. And if the nearby dinosaur came into the water, well, that's good night, Irene, I'd say. But yes, as that happened, in the Cretaceous, it was also a lot harder. So there was a lot. It was a lot more. It was a lot more vegetation growing freely, and it was a lot easier for things to not have to worry about or to get humidity. Must be a massive. There was must have been loads of massive mosquitoes, and to say what exactly the beginning point of the Cretaceous was the fact that the Cretaceous had at the beginning of the Cretaceous, Pangea had just finished breaking up, so North America had no longer been connected to the Asia to Europe slash the Asian continents, as now it was as they were both their own little separate continents, no longer contained there. This meant that Antarctica was also a part of uh, South America, if my memory serves it correctly, and thusly then lost all of it, or and because of how much humidity there was, and uh, how how much humidity there was, the continent did not have any ice on it, thusly making it so that there wasn't as much snow there. However, when the Cretaceous began to draw to an end, before the impact of the ice of the meteorite, the ice began to come back on the upper and the lower continents. As you could then we see that there's evidence to showcase that dinosaurs began to grow feathers to protect them in such not harsh, newly changing environments. However, this does bring us to the end, as then a massive extinction event happened with the dinosaurs, as a massive meteorite crash landed off the shore of what we know as Mexico, and had brought it into the non-avian dinosaurs, as you would know. As you may be wondering, what is the name of this extinction event? Well, it's called the KPT extinction. The KPT extinction, uh, otherwise known as the Cretaceous extinction event, was what happened when a meteor called, forgive me for my Spanish, but Chicxulub, Chicxulub impactor struck off the coast of Mexico coast, causing massive shockwaves across the globe. This really affected everything. However, it did not. Those shockwaves did not kill every single dinosaur. They took out a nice chunk of dinosaurs, I should say, not a large chunk, a nice chunk of dinosaurs. The ones that were closest to Mexico and such would be harshly affected by this. Anything that would be, we would say, up in Oregon, Washington, North Dakota, South Dakota, those things would have relatively been fine without getting hit by or getting touched by this impact. However, that did not mean that there was nothing more happening, as for the evidence to showcase that we have evidence to show that the meteorite struck at a certain point on the planet that thusly caused a large majority of the uh, not a large majority, but a volcanic event to transpire that thusly coated the Earth in a bunch of ash, turning it into a volcanic ice age, you could say. It was extremely cold, of course. There was no sunlight for a very long time, and things were looking very grim, you could say. Things have been grim, and thusly meant that the large dinosaurs, or the large terrestrial beings, I should say, or large beings. This didn't just affect the dinosaurs. This also affect the large marine reptiles, large flying reptiles, uh, most things that were no bigger than a rat would have been seen this and would have been absolutely terrified of their mind and had to figure out ways to survive. Unfortunately, a large chunk of them did not make it. As about excuse me again, uh, if I understand correctly, uh, 3/4 or 3/4 of both plants and animals went extinct on that day or during this extinction event. Uh, it was a large amount. However, this does not mean that it was the biggest, as the Permian mass extinction event, uh, which took place before the Triassic, which was such a long time ago, is wild to imagine, between the dinosaurs and the Permian, I should say. Uh, it wiped out 96% of all life. And that wasn't even because of any extraterrestrial entities. This was just because of or forgive me, not extraterrestrial entities, any extraterrestrial outside force. This was just the Earth going like, we're gonna blow, and blow it did, taking a large chunk of life with it. Uh, Now you might be wondering how exactly this meteorite come down to Earth. Well, we can thank Jupiter. According to some studies by Harvard, uh, they seem to have said that Jupiter had been pulling in meteorites and trying to throw them out of or throw them back out of orbit, or throw them back out into space. One meteorite they picked up from the Oort cloud, a ring. This is a ring of meteorites that are just within inside our solar system. They're right outside of uh, Pluto, I want to say. Yeah, Pluto, and are decently close, but not too close. Regardless, Jupiter seems to have pulled in one of them on accident. By not accident, by pulled in one of them on accident, I mean pulled it in, but did not have enough gravitational force to launch it back out, and so thusly it came at us like a, a football getting thrown to a linebacker. Unfortunately, we weren't a big enough linebacker to catch it, and so thusly it then slammed into us. And the results varied, as you can see. We no longer have dinosaurs as it currently stands, and but forgive me, we don't have the dinosaurs that roamed the Earth 66 million years ago. We have their little descendants, being the birds, little flippy floppers. Tweedledee, tweedledoo. And so, you might be wondering, how exactly did the Hell Creek Formation form? Uh, the Hell Creek Formation formed, it took shape about 65 million years ago. This is when the western interior seaway began to recede away from and began to then form up with the Rockies. Uh, the Rockies also assisted with this as they also began to grow upwards slowly but surely, as they didn't have their grand growth until a little later, but still showcasing it a little. This began to push the seaway in some more, thusly bringing in more riverways to actually begin to bring down sedimentary rock into what we know as Hell's Creek of the modern day, thusly beginning to form it. Over time, we had the rivers meandering down into the coastal plains with the humidity. It deposited a lot of sedimentary. Bringing it all together, kind of just making it a nice little clay soup, if you would. As now we get to the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains, they're massive, well, not too massive, but they're still large and strange rocky places. They began to form 65 million years ago, give or take. There's some pushing, pulling, it seems, as one source also then proceeded to tell me that it was 62 million years ago that they began to form. So that would be a bit after the uh, mm, forgive me, clear my throat. A bit after the uh, Cretaceous, as it would fall into the Cenozoic. But it seems that there's between 65 to 62 million years that this is when the mountains began to fully grow up, as they would just seemingly kind of build up sedimentary rocks? Question mark? No, no, this is accurate, strangely enough. There was no plates that interact with one another. There was no continental plates smashing together to form a new to bring America together. It was just simply the growing, and it's even more stranger as there are mountain ranges next to it that should be growing more because of the incidences that would bring forth a proper mountain range. However, from the seams of it, it is because during about 70 million years ago, we had an interaction with a small oceanic crust pushing upwards underneath us and lifting it up, uh, having some uplift, pushing the continent upwards and sending these rocks specifically up into the air, thusly making the Rocky Mountains, which is kind of funny because we've had similar situations too with our rocks. So with our mountains on the lower southern eastern part, southern western parts. So safe to say that yeah, we kind of got the best rocks. I think to say. You know what I mean? What I'm saying? Like our mountains are awesome. Who can say that their mountains are formed from dead ocean? Hmm? And now we get to the rocks of the Hell's Creek Formation, or as I like to say, rocks of the realm. As mentioned before, you can find sediments, sandstones, and shale rocks within the Hells Creek Formation, but you can also find uh, siltstones and mudstones. This is because, of course, the humid environment that they had developed from, as it thusly meant that the rocks would begin to get all dirt. A funny way for me to say is that mud gets all derpy looking. Is it's like just silly puttied altogether. The humidity uh, helps to make the earth a lot more murky, murdy, silly, putty wuddy. Uh, regardless, but yes, it helps to make mudstones. You can see these within the eastern Montana. However, if you wish to find the best spot for these things, for these rocks, my best suggestion is to go to the Charles M. Russell Wildlife Refuge and in the uh, Muckleshoot State Park. Forgive me if I said that name wrong. Of course, in these rocks, you can find some special goodies known as fossils. I mean, hey ho, uh, they're great. Who wouldn't want to? However, you will need to speak with somebody before you go do that because that is not legal to freely pick up fossils. Yeah. And so we pick up to what type of fossils you can find inside the Hells Creek Formation. I had touched on this earlier somewhat, but here are some things that you can find. At the beginning, we have the big man himself, Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Tyrant King. He ruled North America for 77 million, well, not 77, near the end of the Cretaceous, I should say. He did not appear at the beginning. That was Acrocanthosaurus that became the beginning. But I digress. Tyrannosaurus ruled America for the end of the Cretaceous and thusly had itself with uh, good reason to do so, I will say. It had bone-breaking bites, and it could run at 225 miles per hour. If we now it's shrink down a little, getting a little tinier, a little funnier, or a little funner, we get the Ankylosaurus, a nice little armored tank, biological tank. A cute little club for a tail. You can see that thing swing swonk, and as you saw earlier in that one picture in my background, it could break bone. So if it hits you, it'd mash you up real good, you know, and that would not be very fun to feel. You know, I mean, who would want to get hit by a club tail, right? For that, and then even smaller than that, we get Dakota Raptor, fast, deadly little raptor. This helped fill in the medium predator niche that a lot of people seem to argue uh, only young Tyrannosaurs filled in, but we have more evidence coming in daily that this was not the case. But you know, people be people and Tyrannosaurus Rex fans or Tyrannosaurus Rex fans. This is how it is. um, so yeah, these are some of the cool beasties that you can come across within this beautiful place known as the Hell's Creek Formation. However, I do have one more honorable mention that has just recently been confirmed to actually be valid in the Hell's Creek Formation. And this beautiful son of a gun is Nanotyrannus lancensis, or Nanotyrannus uh, Lathios. Lathios? Uh, this, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what a Nanotyrannus is a medium-sized tyrannosaurid that was originally known from a specimen back in 1988, discovered by I forgot his name, unfortunately, but discovered by a very bright paleontologist. He he would publish this out and would then get some sideways question marks, concerns, and interests, as we had no real evidence of another Tyrannosaurid, Acrocanthosaurid, or other similar theropodomorph within North America during the time of the T-Rex. So this thusly meant people began to speculate, question, concern, and wonder what exactly it was. This all bled into the early 2000s, 2006, where people would then debunk a Nanotyrannus' existence and simply say that it was just a juvenile, an adolescent T-Rex. However, this debate did continue onwards, as for the most part, most of the paleontological community did agree that Nanotyrannus was just an adolescent T-Rex, as we had no real evidence to showcase a fully grown Nanotyrannus, and for the most part, it just was the simplest and easiest solution. The data somewhat supported the thesis or the hypothesis. So we fight for about several decades, bringing us, or several years, thusly bringing us to a final uh, argument as of earlier this semester, at the end of October, early November. Wow, it's been that long. Uh, Nanotyrannus finally gets himself back his title, or should I say, the Queen gets her title back, as we find a very interesting specimen of a Tyrannosaurid and a Ceratopsian going locked in a deadly dance of combat, leading to both of their unfortunate demises. However, due to this unfortunate demise, we are able to a, a group of individuals who are studying Nanotyrannus come into contact or come into happenstance with the Nanotyrannus fossil, and with this fossil, they deduct and deduce that this is a fully grown Nanotyrannus. The bone structure showcased no more growth hormone or growth, here, uh, growth, growth fractures, and there were some missing features from the adolescent or supposed adolescent tyrannosaurs still not there when the uh, when the Nanotyrannus, this Nanotyrannus, or this specimen, I should argue, uh, was showcasing it, as it was simply just too different of a dinosaur of an animal than what we expected from what should be a Tyrannosaurid. Thusly, this meant that uh, this was a completely different animal, also a different completely species, thusly gaining back its moniker, Nanotyrannus lancensis. However, this was not the only thing that we discovered. Because of this fossil, the dueling dinosaurs, we find out that it is also a different species, different species than the Nanotyrannus that we already had. as we then find out that the Nanotyrannus that we had from before is actually a subspecies of Nanotyrannus called Nanotyrannus uh, Lethicius. Uh, this was named after the river within Greek mythology that is supposed to represent rebirth. And so, because of this new discovery, Nanotyrannus had thusly become reborn and has now be considered its own its whole entire phylum, standing out separately from the Tyrant King, and actually has very little relation with Tyrant King, as you if you as you can look up for yourselves if you wish to. It actually holds a lot more similarities to Tarvosaurus, which is another Tyrannosaur. And so thusly making finally ending, or well, putting a pin in the discussion between Nanotyrannus and Tyrannosaurus being closely related individuals. And just wanted to share that out there because that was really important to me that such a beautiful creature uh, was able to finally make its own in the world and no longer has to worry about being connected to uh, its cousin. Uh, and so thusly brings us to our final destination, the conclusion. Uh, as you can see here, within the Hell Creek Formation is a massively beautiful realm holding great mysteries to it that are looking to be discovered by all sorts of paleontological individuals across the world. It is arguably the greatest place that you can go to if you are looking to get into Mesozoic fossils, as it holds loads and loads of dinosaurs, dinosaur fossils, Mesozoic plants, and other creatures within the realm of the Mesozoic era. I would definitely say please go there, as it also does hold key events from differing eras too, not just the Mesozoic, but as you can see, or well, not just Mesozoic, but within the Mesozoic, being the extinction events that came from beyond the stars, or as certain people like to say, from beyond heaven. Uh, uh, and also demonstrating that there is how exactly a mountain growth had taken place and fully developed itself into existence. So, yeah, I wish for more places like this to be discovered, as more places like this means that we have greater reach for our grand republic of man, and they can appreciate it and understand what exactly it means. I know that the greater public will struggle to comprehend such massive undertakings, but it is our job to be able to assist them and make places like this for them to be able to simply, not simply, but to come, explore, and enjoy, and well, bring their knowledge up a little. You know what I'm saying? So with that, here are all the credits that belong to everybody. I hope you enjoyed, and I will be calling it here. So yeah, see you later.